Welcome, everybody, to our Praise 104.1 virtual presentation. And I'm so excited about today. I have become family to these people, I gotta tell you. And I'm so excited to share with you all of the information from the Barker Adoption Foundation. And as our special guest, I'm going to do official introductions, if that's all right. So we have with us today Sara McEachnie. She is the Director of Domestic Adoption Programs, and she oversees Barker's domestic infant programs, as well as older child foster care adoption programs. The project Wait No Longer. With over 18 years of social work experience, Sara brings a love and passion for children and families, having served in both managerial and direct service capacities in the public and private child welfare system. Sara is best known for her go-getter attitude and positive energy that she infuses into every task that she takes on. She firmly believes that a child-centered approach, thoughtful collaboration, and the willingness to tackle the hard conversations is key in ethical decision making. Sara holds a bachelor's and master's degree in social work, and she's our special guest today. Hi, Sara. How are you?
Hi, Cheryl. I am doing well. I'm so excited. So excited to be here.
I'm excited to see your face because we've talked over the phone a
I
number of times, and so excited to see your face and to have you here. We also have Jamari Kane-White, better known as Sugar. He is a native Washingtonian and lifetime welfare advocate, being system impacted himself for 10 years prior to his adoption. After interning for Six Stone Cancel at Think of Us in 2020, he has been passionate about advocating and has appeared in numerous public speaking roles, such as panels, National Adoption Month, and a congressional briefing during his time with CCAI. In his free time, he loves nothing more than spending it with his friends and family and finding ways to help anyone he can. Jamari, welcome.
Hello, welcome, Cheryl. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you and Sara.
I
And
am excited about this conversation. It has become a passion of mine, and just hearing all of the information with regards to adoption and specifically with the Barker Adoption Foundation. So, for those who are watching on our Facebook page, Praise 104.1 page, the Radio One YouTube channel, wherever you're watching, go ahead, like it and share. Like and share and tell everybody to come join us for this conversation, because even if you're not interested in adoption, you may know someone who is, right? You may know somebody who's curious about it, and we've got answers for you today. And I love this conversation, Sara, because it was a time when I didn't think I could have children. It was a time when I had infertility issues myself. And my husband and I had two bonus kids. And so we were just focused on raising them. And then God did a miracle. And I was pregnant with my daughter, who was born 1.5 pounds. And so we had some health challenges with her. And again, not even knowing if I was going to be able to conceive again, I ended up having another baby 15 months later. So God blessed me. But adoption was an option for us, right? It was one of the things that we considered when we got married, like, down the line, because we knew we had these issues, that we might consider it. And I have family members who have adopted, and it's just been an amazing process. And we talked about it before on the Community Affairs show, how those, the babies that we adopt literally become like us. They look like us, they speak like us, they have this thing. And so a lot of times we can dispel a number of myths when it comes to adoption. So I love that we have this option and able to share it with our audience. So again, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on our Praise 104.1 page, I want you to like and share it with your audience, because you never know who may want this information. So I'll put that disclaimer out. That's how we're going to get kicked off. That's how we're going to get started. Before we get into asking Jamari a few questions, I want to ask some general questions about the Barker Adoption Foundation. So tell us again, Sara, I'm going to start there. Tell us what the Barker Adoption Foundation is. Tell us, what the mission is behind it and all of the information we need to know.
Absolutely. So first, when you said in the bio, 18 years experience, I almost forgot how old I was. 18 years.
I know, girl. We start counting back.
Yes, come back. But the Barker Adoption Foundation is an agency that was founded in 1945. Really started off as a domestic infant adoption center. And over time, it has evolved into a very comprehensive program. So we offer domestic and international options for children that are young, children that are older, and more specifically. What we have focused on within the more recent years is children who are most vulnerable, children who are most in need. And that really does talk about, children that have specialized needs, children that are older, and children that are in larger sibling groups. But even for our babies, which is where we started out as a domestic infant program, we provide compassionate counseling for expectant women and already expectant families, I should say, and already parenting families who are exploring an adoption plan. So Barker Adoption Foundation is all about providing that option for families that need it, for children that are in need of a permanent family solution. And we work collaboratively with the families that are making that adoption plan.
I love it. And you know what I love is all of the different programs that the Barker Adoption Foundation has. You talked a little bit about it, but from start to finish, like you guys educate and walk folk through the process. So there's no questions about it. It's the preparation of it. It is every single thing, things that you don't even think about. You guys have programs. Share a few of them.
Yeah, so you mentioned, from start to finish, we have a post-adoption counseling department, but post, sometimes it can throw you off because you think it's after the adoption process, but it really does start out before. So we have a number of pre-adoption consultations that we offer to families, both paid and unpaid. So the information meetings that we have monthly are unpaid, and those consultations are paid options because sometimes families aren't quite sure, what they're open to, or what they're eligible for, or what the path, which path is going to feel right for their family. So being able to walk a family through that, even help them understand their motivations for adoption and then the considerations and realities of adoption is really, really important to making sure that you are in the right path or the right program for your family. In addition to that, in addition to the pre-supports, once you are walking through the program, you do have services that you can take advantage of once you have what's called a home study approved and you become a waiting family. We have waiting parent meetings so that you can, connect with other families who are also adopting. Building that community is particularly important, not just for the parent, but for the child who will eventually join that home. I always say that a child should not be, the only person that they know who's adopted. You need to know other kids who are adopted because it's a very unique experience and a unique language that you have. We also have support groups. We have parent coaches and mentors, so just a full array of services to be able to help families at different phases and stages of the process.
I love that. I do. And again, we were able to talk to families before during the community affairs show. But I love that we have Jamari on with us. And so we'll jump right in. Jamari, tell us a little bit about yourself and how old were you when you entered into foster care?
Yes, certainly. So I entered foster care when I was about 9 years old. I was 20, it was in 2010. And yes, I was around in fifth and sixth grade. And I remember my first placement being with a pastor out way in Largo, Maryland. And I never even heard of Largo, Maryland at the time. And that's when really it started. And subsequently, I've been able to see a lot of the DMV through my journey. And in 2020, actually, I was adopted by my loving family that I have now. It's me, my mom, dad, and my two beautiful, beautiful baby sisters. Those are my angels. I love them to death. I really do. And throughout my time in care, I've had several placements, even a tried kinship in congregate care setting. But overall, I'm glad it ended up with me being adopted by the people I'm with now today.
Awesome. Awesome. So how old are you? Can I ask that?
Certainly. I am 23 years old.
Okay. And how old were you when you were adopted?
I was 19. Yeah, 19 going on 20. Just about right before my birthday.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So from the age, so for 9 years, you were in the foster care system until you were adopted.
Yes, indeed.
Got you. Got you. So, so did you enter foster care with any siblings, or were you all adopted together?
Yeah, so I entered foster care with my little brother. His name is Almarion. That's my pride and joy. I've always taken care of him. I was just talking to him prior to this. Actually, he was just talking to me on, giving me some words of encouragement. That's my guy, and he actually was not adopted by my family because we had tried to kinship with my aunt, didn't work, and we had got separated. But I still keep in touch with him, and he actually lives an 8-minute walk away from my house now, and we're really
Oh,
close. Yeah, I'm like I've integrated our families basically. Like I go over to his house, I play Halo with him, we eat dinner, play like Jack in the Box games, or go out. We like Korean barbecue a lot. He loves to eat
mm.
food and spend my money on Fortnite V-Bucks as well. We play that as well. But that's my little brother, so like I can give him whatever I can whenever he asks
Mhm.
for.
I love how you said you integrate the families. Like you can make that decision. You can make that happen, right? Like you can really make sure that I'm a blended family. Again, I had two bonus babies that I raised. And so it really is family when you're able to make that work. And we did that for the kids. So we as adult co-parenting, we made sure that it worked for our children. Like that's what happens. You move the selfishness aside and you make sure that whatever it is that you're doing for you're doing it for your family. So so what were some of the challenges, Jamari, that you encountered as a youth and experiencing foster care? And then who
Def-
helped you navigate that?
Definitely, a lot of the challenges I had just stemmed from not knowing things, like resources that were available to me, how to advocate for myself in court, and like advocate that to my social worker, my GAL, stuff like that, and just not knowing what I was capable of. I just thought like I didn't have much autonomy in decisions. I was like where I was put, just survive, live, go to school, get good grades, eat food, take care of your little brother.
Mm.
And it actually was my parents when I first met them, and the day was April 26, 2016. I know that because in our house we have a family like word portrait, and it says all the important dates. They got married. My parents were married in 2003. Yes, and then April 26, 2016 was when we met. May 7, 2020, my baby girl Sally was born. November 2nd, 2018, April was born. So I remember the day just like that.
Mm.
And it was really an experience. Like I met them, we talked, and then within a few months we had been trying to get things rolling with CFSA, and they really told me what it was like to really like stand firm, tell people like what you know. And they taught me like a lot of things that are available to me, like ETV vouchers, like supports for college, even housing vouchers if I would need anything. And that's when I really got a glimpse of how to really, now that I'm navigating the journey and no one was navigating it for me in a sense, I learned how to start walking my own path with them by my side, that is.
Mm. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So again, how did you become connected to your adoptive family?
Certainly. So I was leaving a placement over there in Fort Washington, Maryland. Thank goodness. That was very, very far from my native homeland of Washington, D.C. So I was excited, and I had gotten a respite placement over there in Northeast D.C. And she wasn't looking to adopt. She just was kind of, a respite home and stuff. And one day she comes up to me and she asks, she's like, well, you'd like to be adopted, right? And I was like, yes. And she like, you wouldn't matter if people were like white, black, yellow, blue, something like that. And I laughed at it because like, well, you're telling me that they're, white people. And she's like, yeah, but they're pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like, let's meet them. And that is when we had our first meeting at Brooklyn's Finest Grill. It's one of our favorite restaurants to this day. And I
Mm.
remember it because I was trying to be a little fancy, ordered some like shrimp and grits, and I had lamb chops for the first time. And I got them well done. And that was a very, very bad mistake on my part.
They're
So I
tough.
spent bad mistake. I spent a little bit of that time walking back and forth to the restroom in between the meeting, but they were really nice, cracked a lot of jokes, and they were really, even at the table, they would just ask me like what my life was like. I didn't feel any judgment when they spoke to me, when they were talking to me, listening, and I had a feeling that it would be great from that day forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, what type of support did you utilize to help you transition into your adoptive family? Because it sounds like even in foster care, you had some really great people that took care of you, that kind of helped navigate you to the place of before you got adopted. But so what type of support did you utilize to help you transition into your adoptive family?
Definitely. So like I have a really, really good social worker. She even came to my graduation this year. I graduated from Howard in May.
Oh,
And yes,
congratulations.
thank you so much. And
So
like I was
were
really
you
going
in
through it.
college during the pandemic too?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Yeah. My I have a 24 and 25-year-old, and they were too. It was like, ugh. So I
Immediate
understand.
family.
But wow, congratulations. Go ahead. Go ahead. I
Yeah.
like
You're fine. Thank you. And where was I? So graduated recently, and could you repeat the question one more time? So I got with
yeah,
happiness.
yeah, I know. I kind of shifted some things. I started thinking on my own. I said, what type of support did you utilize to help you transition into your adoptive family?
Definitely. So yeah, I had a really great social worker. She really just showed up for me and my brother in like every way. She supported this from like day one. She was really just bent on the fact that we deserved a family. Like me and my little brother, we were just little kids that deserved a family. She, even when I lived in, so I had to attend Bowie High School for a little bit, and I lived in DC when I cared settings. And she, instead of using the battle transport, she would drive me. Like anytime after school, I didn't know what to do. She would come through, bring me some food or something. We just sit on the porch and talk and stuff like that. And it's also just, it really wasn't no legal, assistance. It was really just all the strength of friends and family. Like I think growing up in foster care, I really was definitely shy of the fact I was in foster care. That's not something I would tell anyone immediately. I actually really didn't start talking about it until I was in 12th grade. Really, that was when I first really started telling people, like, you know what, I'm adopted. I'm in the process of getting adopted, and this is my family, and I love these people to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just having friends around me that were just like, you deserve it, like you need to go for this, was just all I needed. Like I remember when it was getting down to it, my mom was like, you do want to be adopted, right? And I was like, yes, I'll be taking the last name as well. And that's why it's Jamari Kane-White. I'm the first Kane-White, and I feel really proud of that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. You were at Bowie High School, then literally at the same time my children were there, because my son is 24.
Really?
Yeah, he was in the band. Yeah,
What?
Darren. He
I have
was
to
in
see
the
a
band.
picture of him. I may have seen him. I
Yeah,
might.
I'm sure you have. If you've seen the marching band, he was a part of the drum line.
That's
Um,
nice.
but that's pretty awesome. I like it. And I love that you're so candid about it. And then being, Sarah, we were talking about it, the older children being adopted, it gives hope to those who might be watching, or anybody that they know in the foster care system. I think that's pretty awesome. So our listeners and viewers, if you have any questions for Jamari, if you have any questions for Sara, be sure to ask your questions. We want to make sure that we get those questions answered. So this is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about adoption, a little bit more about how you can support the Barker Adoption Foundation, because maybe it's not about adoption for you, but you do want to know more about how you as the community can help. This is your opportunity to do that. So don't be shy. You know how we do it. We want to know if you have questions or if you have any comments that you'd like to share. All right, Jamari, I'm still focusing on you for a little bit. Do you continue to use any of the support now, whether formal or informal? Do you still use any of the support, even though you've already been adopted?
So I still keep in contact with my social worker, because like that's the bond we've built. Like beyond that, even my aftercare worker in Hawaii, I still tell her, like, from time to time, some of my crazy ideas, like, thinking about law school, or like looking at different jobs and stuff. Like we'll just sit and talk sometimes. And other than that, I've just more so, the further I've gotten into the family, the more I've just been using my family as support. Like even right now, next month is my favorite time of the year. Basically, we get to go to grandma's house right after Christmas. Me, the girls, my parents, we go to grandma's house down in Woodstock. And from the 6th to like the 29th, I get to do nothing but be a big cousin and big brother. Like I sit on the couch, the kids take naps with me, we play the video games. My two little cousins, they're like Nintendo Switch fanatics, so am I. I love video games, but I'll leave that there. And like they're always buzzing around, bugging me, and like I don't get annoyed. Like all my aunts and uncles, like, they give me perspectives on everything. And now that I'm older now, I too can sit at the table and have a glass of wine while we talk. And like they let me, let me sit and talk. Like this is really just, I really have not really used any like formal support since being with my family.
Mm-hmm. Got you. But you still stay in touch with the social worker, which I think is
Oh,
awesome too, because you still have great relationship with her. And so what would you say is your greatest accomplishment and who helped you achieve it? I hear you graduated from Howard. Tell us what you're doing with your major. Does it have anything to do with adoption or children or social work or whatever? But
yeah.
what would you say is your greatest accomplishment and who helped you achieve it?
You hit it spot on. Graduating college was indeed my greatest accomplishment because honestly, when I was in a group home, I really did not see myself going to college. I was like, I'm going to age out of here. I'm going to get a job and I just need to find a place to live. And, it comes up in like bottom of junior year, top of senior year of high school. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to like FAMU. Oh, I'm looking at NYU. And I'm just like, what is the purpose of this and stuff like that. And then my counselor basically sat me down and was like, listen, if for nothing else, if you go to college, you can get out of here and you can try to make a better life for yourself. Like people will pay you for going to college. Like, I was like, a dorm room sounds much better than like, what we're doing right now. So
Yeah.
And that's how it started. I had put off my best academic years and I got a really good scholarship to Howard University, plus the ETV and other financial supports we received through the system. It was pretty nice. And it was really my parents that really kept me going. So I graduated a year later. I was actually on the verge of maybe not even finishing college, but they were just like, this is part of the good fight. They teach me so much life skills, like it just added resilience and durability. Like they tell me like one thing that we've adopted is people say the real world is hard. The real world is just how you interact with other adults. That's what it really is. And my dad and mom tell me things like that and they simplify it for me. Like my dad, he's been vegan for like 6 months now. And, my parents never tell me to do anything. They just show me examples. You know what I mean? And he's like a shining example of that. He's been like my support for everything. Like, especially when I first started sending emails, say financial aid office to Howard University, because things were coming out fast enough or stuff like that. He'd tell me, I'd write an email, I send it to him, and he'd be like, okay. He'd be like, sit down and we're going to rewrite this. And this is where you messed up here. This is where you messed up there. This is where you messed up that. Teaching me practical things like he taught me how to drive a boat and use a chainsaw. Like he just always telling me how to do things and showing me how to navigate and interact with the real world. And those are the supports that I've continued to use. And my greatest achievements is just listening to my parents. I think that in college, because that was what got me through. Just when I couldn't get through the emails, they'll take over from emails. When I couldn't reach a certain somebody, they'll take over. Like, it's like the quote Jesus said, like, when you got tired of walking, you saw my footprints in the sand. And that's how it is. Whenever I couldn't finish picking up the fight, it's just like, okay, we're here. We'll take it from here. And those are my greatest accomplishments, just having the family I have and graduating college.
I got it.
And
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, yes, because I remember you asked me what I was going to do my degree. Currently, I'm in the middle process of looking for a job right now, and I would love to integrate tech into child welfare work. I went into tech at first. Actually, when I graduated Duke Ellington School of Arts, that's where I graduated.
Oh, got you. What was your major?
Literary media communications.
Okay.
And I was there. I was creative writing, like hosting our shows, public speaking there. And then I came to college and I went in from communications. But a lot of things that I noticed they were teaching me was things that I could have learned on YouTube, kind of honestly. Like I like to teach myself a lot of things in my free time. So I was like, a lot of this course wouldn't be needed. So my friends, I made a lot of computer science friends just from the first day, just randomly introduced myself to him. He showed me binary code. He showed me Python and stuff. And I switched to computer science. But then COVID happened. And in 2020 is when I got my start with Think of Us through that summer youth employment program in DC. Six Toe Council picked me through OIE. And he showed me what advocacy looked like. And I just thought like, the system was kind of a lost cause. Like there's nothing's being done. The same stories are being retold. And he showed me like, no, things are being done. Things are being put in place. And that's what really like ignited my passion in advocacy. So I didn't want to like just sit and code for like Facebook or Microsoft anymore. I wanted to sit and code for constituents, like diligent recruitment, perhaps. Like I wanted to do things for people who are affected by the system like me. And I don't know exactly what that looks like right now, but I have really good friends who support me in my journey, really good coders, really good ad makers, and something great will come of that. Something great will come of these friendships.
Absolutely. Your future is bright. All right. Dallas Lights from YouTube is asking, do you need to own your own home to adopt? And does that increase your chances at adoption? And I guess that would be to Sara.
That'll be for me. Happy to answer that question. I wanted to mention something that that Jamari touched on. First, we didn't actually say this is November. It's National Adoption Month.
Oh,
Um, And the significance of that is that National Adoption Month really focuses on older waiting teens, wanted to spotlight older waiting teens that are still awaiting a family in foster care. So I definitely wanted to mention that, particularly because Jamari is talking about being adopted at the age of 19, right? That is that's something that not every family feels prepared for, but it is exactly the reason that we are building, awareness for those in the public and all of our listening audience, to let them know that there are children that are waiting at that desired family. Now, to answer the question from Dallas, you do not need to own your home to adopt. We have, folks that rent. There are logistics and regulations that are specific to each state that you would need to follow for your home, in terms of having an available room for a child. There are, regulations around gender sharing, or biosex sharing, or the age of the child. But as it relates to the home, you can own or you can rent.
Hmm.
It
I
doesn't
love
have a place.
That's a great question too. No question is silly to ask. If you genuinely have them, make sure you ask. This is the great time to do it, especially if you are considering. You're welcome, Dallas. Thank you so much for tuning in. But again, like and share this live with everybody that you know, because you never know who's interested in adoption, and somebody may not have even taken that as a consideration for their family. But I love how Jamari's story is showing us that you're never too old to be adopted, number one. And number two, the effects that it's had on his life, even in this space, that this is a crucial age in your early 20s and your teen years, your early 20s, because you're navigating everything from graduating high school to going into college to navigating life. And I love how your parents are literally taking you by the hand to give you direction. And even growing up, you think, I don't want direction from my parents. I don't know why they always asking me to, but you really want it. Like, you really do want structure. You really do want somebody who's going to be considerate enough to give you direction. So Jamari, what other things were you able to accomplish at this age? What that would have been significantly harder without your family? Like, I hear you talking about the things your dad has been teaching you, but if they weren't in your life at this time, what have you accomplished if you hadn't had, if you didn't have any, that would have been harder without having a family?
Uh, I can't pick just one thing. I think the entirety of the life, like, would
Yeah.
probably be harder. Like, I don't know what would have happened if I didn't reconnect with them before going to college, because what happened with the kinship. After that, they moved houses, and I actually sought them out. I seeked them out. I was like, those are my people. That was the people I felt the most at home with, and I did my digging around the agency and stuff, and I found a new address and knocked on their door one night, and that's how it got reestablished. And that is where we're going. I really, like, my dad. He helped me like get some financial independence where I can like pay my own rent and stuff like that. He showed me like my professional attire, suits and stuff, like how to dry clean them, when to use like cufflinks, and he showed me like professionalism, advocacy, how it looks up to take care of yourself without like necessarily disrespecting people, or like just letting some of your trauma out every time you feel like you're being like not heard or anything like that. Like, they really told me how to like harness my potential in life and how to really just use it going forward. And it's always a what if scenario, but I just really can't imagine one where I'm not adopting my parents in a what if scenario. Like, I think the latter, like the what if, just, I don't know. I really, every time I think about the question, it's just a question mark pops up in my head in the gray
Yeah.
cloud. Like, what would have happened?
Yeah.
What would I be able to do? I don't know what I haven't done without my parents, honestly. It's honestly.
So good. That's so good. So, being adopted at 19, what message would you like to leave with our listeners and viewers about, adopting an older child?
I say, if you're willing to take a chance and adopt an older child, or knowing the stigmas that surround him, like, we're never going to get into that, but if you're willing to take on an older child, you're already a genuine person. You already have the kindness in your heart, but you'll have to keep showing that. Like, having an older child isn't, just a simple anything. You have to start strong and continue strong. Like sometimes I feel like even in my worst moments when I was mad at my parents, so we had disagreements, it just felt like being bear hugged. Like they're like, well, we're not gonna let you go regardless, so we're just gonna have to work it out. Like, me and my mom, we have some heated disagreements. She'd be like, well, love you, still kiss me in the cheek before, we finish talking and stuff like that. Like, it's just, you have to be ready. You have to be ready to deal with someone who has come from a lot of things that you probably haven't experienced or can begin fathoming to experience. But it's the love. At the end of the day, it's going to be the love. You just have to always have it ready. You have to have it on your sleeve. You have to just continue to show the child that you're there for them. Because honestly, I know a lot of older youth who weren't adopted, and even some weren't, who still just say sometimes like they don't feel it. Like through all the things, like they just feel like they're living, but they didn't feel love. Like I've seen other youth truly feel it and also bask in their glory with their parents and their journey. I feel like it is going to be crucial moments. You're going to have those opportunities and like really deep times to show up. You have to showing up means more than anything. I think it's a loyalty. It actually goes in hand with that. Like just showing the child like they're just not another kid to you. They're just not like, something you're trying out for the first time. Showing them that like, listen, I know some things you've been through. I'm no expert, but I'm willing to put a hand in that. And then even with disagreements, even with negative behavior, just making sure you mitigate and continue to show them that it chips away at them. That's what it does. That's what it did for me. Chipped away at me. Chipped away at the walls, broke them down. And it was just like, I can no longer deny the love that these people have for me. Like, because it's showing for me too now. And that's when like you've truly been adopted by the child.
I think one of my greatest accomplishments, I said earlier that I have 2 bonus kids. When I married my husband, Desmond was 6 and Lamar was 2. And we raised them both into manhood. My husband's military, so their moms, of course, were military. And so we, he didn't have to adopt because he was their birth father, but they became me. They became a part of me. And just recently we did a stellar celebration. I won a stellar award this year, and all 4 of my kids spoke. And for me, the greatest accomplishment was that I was, the boys talked about how they didn't know how they would be able to navigate life without me being a part of it, right? Like I'm tearing up thinking about it even now because, we've co-parented with their moms, but they are my babies. Like I raised them. And so when you're talking about adoption and you're talking about an older kid, you really can have that personal place in their life individually. You don't have to negate the fact that they may have another birth mom, or they may have another birth parents, or they may come from somebody else, but you can significantly be who they need you to be when they need you to be it. And they will always honor that. And so I really say kudos to your parents. I really say kudos to you, Jamari, for even wanting that particular setting. All right, we do have some questions, so I don't want to do all the talking, but we do have another question that we can share. So Kadena asks, do you have to be married to adopt? Sara?
Yeah. Great question. And I'll use that to just talk about, the populations or the groups of people that are able to adopt. We are welcoming of all different family types. If you are in a relationship, committed relationship, you do have to be married in order to adopt, but you can adopt as a single person, right? You can adopt as a single person. And this is through Barker. Now, if you're going through the foster care system, you can be unmarried, cohabitating and be able to foster. But for the purposes of adoption, we are asking that families be married. But we do welcome families, single, heterosexual, from our LGBTQ community. All communities are welcome to be able to adopt.
I love it. I love the Barker Foundation, all the things that we found out about it. So I'm not going to keep picking at you, Jamari, but if you guys have questions for him, be sure to ask. You've been amazing, though. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm really, really excited about your future. You have a bright, bright future. You can code, you can do tech, you can do all of these things. You've got a degree, bruh. Your future is bright. bright. Your future is bright. It really is. And
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
so really, really excited about having you and you sharing your story. All right, Sara, it's your turn. So let's talk about it. Who is Barker? And, because this is the Barker Adoption Foundation, right? So tell us who Barker is and what is Project Wait No Longer?
Sure. So Barker Adoption Foundation, as we sort of touched on in the beginning, we're a premier adoption agency within the DMV. So DC, Maryland, Virginia, that represents the states that we hold licenses, and we are able to approve families, assess and approve families to adopt. We have programs that focus on infants and newborns. That is our domestic infant program. We also have our older child adoption program from foster care, which is a Project Wait No Longer. And that is, that is my passion right there, my baby. We do also have international programs for families that are living here, but also families that live across the United States that are using Barker as their placing agency. So many different options and avenues for adoption. One of the things that we firmly believe is that when possible, children should remain with their families of origin, right? The research shows it, and just being able to, consider, sense of self and identity formation when possible. And we will advocate for that every time. But we do understand that that is not always possible. It's not always safe. It's not always an option for our families, for our children. And so when that is the case, then you turn to adoption as a safe and ethical option. We do, we firmly believe in the ethics of adoption, being able to have parties have a voice and a say. So in, an older child adoption, youth have a say. You would have heard from Jamari's story that his parents asked him if he wanted to be adopted. That is regulated in different states. There are legal parameters around what age a child has to be before they consent to their adoption. But even just in the sense of, hey, you're joining my family, I want you to know that you have voice and choice in this as well. Is this something that you want and that you desire? So that's, one of the values of Barker, being able to make sure that we are doing it ethically and including the people that are most impacted by that. Project Wait No Longer, to share a bit about who we are. It is a private adoption path to adopting an older child from foster care. So in this particular program, you don't have to be a foster parent in the traditional sense, in that you're working with the public child welfare system. That is another path to older child adoption. And doing it through a private agency such as Barker allows you to do that without being a foster parent within the public child welfare system. So we are working with states across the United States to be able to work with public child welfare agencies, learn who are the kids that are waiting, who are legally free for adoption. That means that parental rights have already been terminated, and efforts toward reunification have not been successful and have been exhausted. And so these are children that are awaiting permanency. That is our focus group in terms of who we're advocating for and who we are recruiting families for. So far, we have been, privileged to be able to welcome over 200 children home to their families. We've worked with over 30 states. We have helped to keep over 30 sibling groups of 3s and 4s together, children, groups of 3 or 4 together, which all of those are vulnerable groups and populations. To be a part of Project Wait No Longer, you have to be open to children at least up to the age of 12 years old or older, because that's how we get, folks like Jamari into a family. He's 19. And so, did not turn that off. And so, really connecting with our listeners and just people who are interested on, why older child adoption, why do we have to be open up to the age of 12? Well, because children between the ages of 10 and 17 are overrepresented in the foster care system and are the least likely to be able to join family, because most families feel more comfortable or equipped for a younger child. So we have to create a subgroup where we're recruiting and sharing information for those, for our older teens, adolescents. So that is the crux of PWNL for sure. We believe that, you're never too old to need a family. We've heard, from Jamari's story, just how much he has gleaned from his parents and how much would not have been possible without that. Right. I do want to emphasize as well, congratulations on being able to graduate from Howard. But what we try to share with our families is that even for a child that is not able to go to college or is not able to graduate, from high school or from college, that doesn't have to be the marker of success. It is defined by every child and by every family. And the bar might be different based on what that child has been through. So we encourage families to know that they are making a difference in the life of a child just by being there, just by giving them family, giving them space to be able to make mistakes. All children make mistakes and don't have, that risk of losing family. So we try to, not make, being a college graduate the goal, but it definitely is an amazing accomplishment.
It is, yeah.
Whenever a child can achieve it. So congrats to you, Jamari.
Yeah. So we do have another question that the listener or viewer is watching. So Laverne Baker is asking, is there age limit for adopting parents? I know we talked about children, but is there an age limit for adopting parents?
Yeah. So our parents must be at a minimum 25 years old to be able to adopt. In terms of an age cap for our older child adoption program, there is no age cap. We sometimes consider the age gap between the child and the parent in terms of the child that you're seeking to adopt. So there's not an age cap for Project Wait No Longer. There is for our infant adoption program and also our international programs. Based on the programs, it varies. And these regulations and eligibility criteria can all be found on our website, which is barkeradoptionfoundation.org. So for the infant program, families up to the age of 50 are able to adopt through our programs. Families older than 50 can still contact us, and we help you find a placing agency that will be able to accept you over the age of 50. But those are few and far between for infant adoption, right? So that is all.
That's probably the right reason, because I'm, in my 50s. I don't know what I would do if I had an infant right now. That would be interesting. Okay, so we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I want you to share again some services and support for those who've just joined us, services and support that Baker provides for families adopting older children.
Yeah, so we do have support groups, both for our, waiting families and also for our placed families, and even matched. You could be, matched with a child and, needing some support around transitioning that child home. So we have those support groups for adopted persons as well as adoptive parents of different ages. We do have counseling services and supports. Again, those services are available before you even adopt and then after you adopt. One of the things that we are most proud of and was hard fought for, and shout out to our, post-op director, we accept Medicaid, which is not common for many of our behavioral health organizations. And so being able to accept that form of insurance increases accessibility for a much wider population to be able to access these services. We do have, our annual conference and different workshops and meetings that are available to the community and also to anyone touched by adoption. So it doesn't have to be that you were adopted or adopting through Barker. Our services are open to everyone touched by adoption.
Got you. I know it's National Adoption Month. We talked about that earlier. So what is the Barker Adoption Foundation doing for National Adoption Month? I know the last time we talked in the Community Affairs show, you guys had a few free services, a few workshops and things for those who are interested in adoption.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we're doing for National Adoption Month is this. We're here with you.
Yeah.
We are educating our public.
Yes.
The key um, the key highlight of National Adoption Month is really to shed that focus on older teens that are awaiting adoptive families and awaiting permanency. It's also to shine a light on the work of the foster care workers. You talked about your social worker, Jamari, and the impact that she had on you, and just being able to follow you and continue even after you were adopted. And so just celebrating those workers that are also doing the hard work of reunifying families, but also finding permanency options for their kiddos. So being able to share this conversation with the general public. We did that earlier this month through our open house, which was on the 9th. And
Gotcha.
we were able to, invite, many community members who are interested in adoption to figure out or learn different ways that they can grow their family by adoption. Always, regardless of it being November or December or whatever month it is, we always have free opportunities for families to be able to reach out to us and learn about adoption, about foster care, and how they can grow their family in that way. So again, those are monthly information meetings that we host in the evenings and also on Saturday mornings to be able to share just about the population of families, and all of that again is accessible on our website. So just a few of the things that we're doing, and we always have our outreach managers out in the field sharing information about Barker.
Awesome. Okay. And go to Barker Adoption Foundation or barkeradoptionfoundation.org. barkeradoptionfoundation.org is where you can go. And of course, you can see that scrolling on the bottom of the screen and our phone number where you can go to find out more information. I remember you talking about the open house. I didn't know if that had already passed, but also I love that the Barker Foundation have a number of free workshops, free online events, paid events as well that you might want to go to if you're seriously thinking about adoption. This is a great foundation for you to find out and get information, and and making sure that you go through all the proper channels and all the proper steps. I love that Barker provides that as well, right, from start to finish. One thing we talked about on the Community Affairs Show is what you need to do from start to finish, right? And the Barker Foundation has a template in which you can learn more about adoption. So if you have any questions, this is the opportunity to ask questions. We got about 10 more minutes on our live. So wherever you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, and you have questions that you want to ask Sara, or even if you want to ask Jamari, maybe you're watching and you've been wanting to be adopted, or you might be interested in adopting someone older. You might have a question for Jamari and his process as well. We want to hear from you. All right, so don't be shy. You know how we do it. Go ahead and leave your comments, and we'll make sure to get them to answer it. So, Sara, how do interested individuals connect with Barker for these services? We just gave the website. We just gave the phone number. But any other ways that our viewers can get connected with you?
Yeah, on all of the social media platforms, families can follow us at Barker Adoptions. Again, our website and our phone number are here on the ticker, and so that is a way to connect with us. Also, the email info@barkerfoundation.org is also a way to connect with us if they're wanting information through email. On our website, I don't know if we have families that are currently expecting and that are wanting to make an adoption plan. So I don't want to leave that out. On our website, we also do have information. It's a 24/7 hotline number and a text line that expectant parents can reach us on to be able to receive pregnancy counseling 24/7. One of the things we always help families think through, what are the barriers to parenting? And how do we help you with that? How do we show you to community resources as a first step? The second step is then, if they are in fact wanting to make an adoption plan, then we can support with that as well.
Before we get into our final question, Sara, I want to ask both of you, what do you think is a common myth when it comes to adoption? Like, and how can we address that? Like right now, because, you know, there's probably some skepticism, some people who you might be thinking, I don't know about adoption. I don't know who I'm about to get and all of those things. But what do you think are some common myths that we can dispel while we're on this live?
Jamari, I'll let you go first.
Okay, and I think I'll say, Cheryl, you actually touched up on it a little bit. Like, you don't know what you're getting. Yeah. You do know who you're getting. It's who you cultivate. That's who you're getting. It's who you let into your home when you foster them. You know, you just don't get a child and say, I want to adopt a child day one. You have to build up to that. It's like, you don't know who you're getting. You know exactly who you're getting because you get to cultivate who you're getting. You get to implant those seeds. You get to see the growth bloom. Like, literally, you know exactly who you're getting because they will be a shadow reflection of you. Everything you know, everything you want to help them with, you can instill in the child you are trying to adopt, and you know exactly who you're getting. That is the biggest myth. Like, I think the speed of adoption is what we can say here. Like, people think, it's like a
long, tedious process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. People think it's like maybe a week or like two. No, adoption takes a long time. Even mine took even months of paperwork to like. At one point, I was assumed I adopted before it actually happened. It happened December 9th, 2020. That's when we had our Zoom adoption. The judge was there, all our family, friends, again, my social worker, aftercare worker. And yeah, she told me like a month before, and I was like, I already changed my last name. I thought this was, what are we talking about here? Like, it's like, well, yeah, we can do this.
Like, I'm not already done. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess we can legally establish this, but like, I think, and it's also another thing to the legal relationship. Adoption doesn't happen when it's legally certified. You'll know the moment when you've been adopted and you've adopted the child. I feel like that's like the point there. It doesn't have anything to do with paperwork. It doesn't have anything to do with like the processes. Like, there is a moment that you will have with your child that will show you exactly why this is, who you're adopting.
So beautiful. You know who you're adopting because you're going to be the one cultivating, or you've already started cultivating. I think, and that is so absolutely true. That's so absolutely true. Jamari, come on. All right, Sara, what do you think are some common myths?
I do love that.
Isn't that good?
I love that. I'm gonna have to steal a version of that. I promise to credit you though, Jamari. One of the things that you mentioned though, Cheryl, actually gives me some some insight into what to share here. You mentioned that, your baby was born, you said it was at one
a pound and a half. She was born at 26 weeks gestational. Yeah.
Yes. And, there was nothing that, entered your mind about, am I going to love her? Am I going to care for her? You simply, the switch flipped and you did what you needed to do as a parent. One of the things that I share with the adoptive families or prospective families is the misconception that it's going to somehow be different if you're adopting. And it's that, your commitment is always necessary in parenting. Love and flexibility, accessing resources is always necessary in parenting. And the same way in which we would, sort of lean in and do that if this is a child that's born to us, is the same way that we can lean in, and do that for a child that is adopted. And, as Jamari is saying, you cultivate that. That is through the commitment. That is through, tapping into the resources that might be available. And so, that's one of the things that we do to sort of demystify adoption, because it can be a bit of an illusion of being able to, check off a box and, pick a child and they come out exactly as you want them. And it's like, no, you can't guarantee that even in birth.
It's right? Not a vending machine, right? It's like
it's not a vending machine. It's not a vending machine. So it's just to be able to draw that parallel. It's not saying that there are not layers of complexity in adoption. There are, right? Yeah. But a lot of it is the way that you would need to parent anyway. Just being able to access whatever the resources that are necessary for you to be able to get through those rough patches. Attachment may take a little bit longer. Bonding may take a little bit longer. But that also happens in birthing. There is such a thing as, postpartum depression. It sometimes doesn't come naturally, when you birth. So I try to draw those parallels just to be able to instill hope for families who are adopting, to be able to say you have it in you. You have the capacity, you have the abilities in you, wanting to grow your family by adoption. We are here as an adoption agency to help and support and refine and increase that capacity. But there is something that you come with that's going to be pivotal and critical to be able to care and love and provide stability and permanency for that child.
Right. And you can't just blame adoption on challenges that you'll have raising children, because you're just going to have them.
They're going to
adopt it or not. You're going to have challenges because, like Jamari said, you are cultivating. You're cultivating another generation. You're cultivating another individual. And we went, like you said, went into our, raising my daughter. She's 25 now and doing very well. Graduated from Bowie State University and teaching dance. She's actually on her way to teach in South Africa, dance in South Africa. So she is amazing. God did work, but we went through some challenges. We went through some things, being bonus mom to my oldest boys. And then my baby is 24, and you go through challenges, you go through things, you do. And so to know that you are making a difference in somebody's life, adopting them and taking that route of adoption, I think is so awesome. So if you're having challenges having children, I don't want you to dismiss the idea of adoption. If you want to expand your family, if you want to have children, if you maybe you just don't want to have natural birth, adoption is an option, right? And so, and I would admonish you to check out the Barker Adoption Foundation, because I've done some research and I've been talking with them for the last month, and I'm just so impressed by what we see, impressed by the information that's shared, the testimonies that came forth. And so finally, where and how can families learn more about the Project Wait No Longer and other Barker Foundation programs?
Absolutely. So Project Wait No Longer is a program that is listed on our website. And so if you go to the website that's right on the ticker, you will be able to click on the Apply Now button. It will take you to all of the programs that Barker offers. Project Wait No Longer is one of those programs. So families are welcome to look there. You will see the fee schedule. You will see eligibility requirements. You will most importantly see who are the children that are in need of families, and what are the circumstances that lead them to needing a family. One of the things that that you touched on before in terms of the myth again is that older children don't, they're not looking for nurture. They're ready to launch and springboard, and don't really need that that love and security from a family. They do.
They do.
Absolutely do. And they can attach and bond. It might be in a different way from an infant, but that is still possible. And many older youth do desire that. So we don't want to discount that, just because it may look a little bit different. They absolutely do look for that nurture and someone to be able to guide them. We have Jamari's story right here. That guidance was necessary. So we want to continue to make that appeal to families.
Got you. So we have 2 minutes left, and I'm going to give you both opportunity to give final thought on whatever you'd like the final thought to be for those who are watching. And thank you all for those who've been watching on YouTube and Facebook. But yeah, if you have final thought, we'll start with you, Jamari.
Okay. My last thought is, if you're thinking about adopting a child or you're hesitant, then you should do it. I feel as though,
period.
Like, you should do it. I feel as though you already have the right heart. You're already in the right space. You're already willing to open your home and let a stranger into your house. I feel as though that is already the purest form of taking the first step. And throughout the journey of you forcing adopting a child, everything you were nervous about will soon probably come down. More than likely come down. It will actually come down. Like, I think you should take the chance. I feel like, don't judge anything. Do not go in with your preconceived notions. Like we just broke down a few of them. Do not go in with any expectations. Go in with an open heart and mind. That is how you succeed every time. Every time I hear another adoption story, every time I hear of someone bonding with their parents, it's always because they never felt judged and they never felt different, like they were different. They always felt like family. Like I always felt like playing with my family. Like I feel like I grew up with my family. It's like, it's just this sheer acceptance and just understanding that these are people who didn't know me from Adam and Eve, and you're just like, that's our son. That is our son, and I'm still their son, and I will continue to be their son. So you never know. Maybe one day, if you adopt a child, they'll be telling stories of you like this. They'll always take every chance to talk to people about how just great and how much influence you had on them, because I never miss a chance. Anytime I get the chance to tell people how great my parents are, I'll stand on the mountain and yell it. It's, it'll be a great journey. So if you're thinking about adopting a child, you should.
Gotcha. Sara?
I love it. I love it.
I know, right?
Adoption is all about addition and not subtraction. Children come, from their families of origin, and they have a very, very rich history with that origin story. And so it is about adding family. Just a few stats to leave, our listeners with, just to highlight the need. There's over 400,000 children within the U.S. foster care system. 100,000 and over are legally free for adoption. So that means that number of children are waiting today, right now, to be able to have permanency and find a loving family. And so we may not have families on this call to be able to place all, 100,000 children, but we may have one, or we may have two, and we're interested in that one or two. So, like Jamari said, if you are thinking about it, if you're looking at this, live stream event today, regardless of the platform that you're using, it means that there is already an interest. There is something that has been sparked to be able to connect you with adoption. So we're happy to be able to, help you walk through that and navigate that, and hopefully find families that are willing to, open their hearts and their homes, to older teens and younger children as well, some that have specialized needs and sibling groups, to be able to give them a home as well.
Got it. Listen, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much to the Barker Adoption Foundation. For those who've been watching on YouTube and Facebook, you can still share and like and share this conversation. It's going to live on our website at praisedc.com. Make sure you share that with anybody you know who's interested in adoption. Make sure you go to praisedc.com or, of course, any of our social media platforms. We really do appreciate it. Sara, thank you so much for this great information. Jamari, thank you for sharing your story. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. You did the same.